Hello everyone, welcome to Marlin Chess Kids. Today I show the gameplay by Michael Jr. and Jingyao, and this beautiful game complete in 53 moves. And let's see how the game play. The game starts with the pawn to d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, c4, and c6 was placed. Then e3, and after this the bishop to f5, and here after this the white play knight to c3 and e6, and here you have this structure of the black and you have the Slav Defence. Then the game continue with bishop to d3, trying to attack the bishop and also preparing to go for a short castling. So the bishop just back to g6, and now the white just continue to develop by playing. Then the knight b to d7, and now the knight to d5 continue to gain control of the center of the pawn, and here the knight capture, then the pawn capture, and after this the knight to d7 and trying to attack the pawn at e5, and here the black also can capture the bishop at d3 and is good for the black. So after this move the bishop just capture the bishop, and now the position is equal after pawn h takes g6, and this is the first 10 move. Then the game continue with the pawn c takes d5 and the pawn e takes the pawn, and now e4 was played. After this the queen to h4 and prepare to attack the pawn at h2 and go for a simple checkmate at the h file. After this, if you play a knight takes the e5 pawn, then the pawn will just take the d5 pawn, and after bishop to d6, then bishop to f4, and this will give white a slightly better in this position. So in this actual game, after queen h4, h3 was played, and now the pawn d takes e4, and the queen now is protected the pawn and the knight cannot be captured. And back again, if you use the knight to take the e5 pawn at this position, the pawn will just capture after this. The black can go for a long castling and it will pinning the pawn, and you use the pawn to capture it back. So after bishop to e3, then at this position the bishop also can attack the pawn at the corner, and this will give white slightly better in this position. So in the actual game, after d takes the pawn, then the rook to e1, and now the knight to c5, then queen to c2, and have more pieces to attack the e4 pawn, and the white is more active in this position. After this, the black just go for a long castling. So then the white continue to play knight takes the pawn, and the bishop to g5 will be a very strong move to attack the queen and the rook, and this is a fork. So after this move the knight just capture the knight. After this the knight capture it back. Then here come a very nice move with the rook check, and if the queen capture, then the queen will just capture back the rook, and In the actual game, the white play king to h2. After this, the queen goes to h5, protecting the rook from being captured. And then f3 was played to block the protection from the queen. And after this move, the rook just goes to d5. Then bishop continued to develop by playing bishop f4. And now the queen goes to f5. And this is the first 20 move, and the white has an edge in this position. And the game continue with a rook to d1. Continue to attack the rook and go for the exchange. After this, the rook just capture and the queen capture. Then bishop to c5, bring up another bishop to develop. And after this move, the white play b4. This is a very strong attack from the white to attack the bishop, and is protected by the rook. So after this move, the rook goes to d8, continue to attack the queen. Then the queen continue to move to b3, and this queen also protect the square at d1 as well. And at the same time also attack the pawn at f7. So after this move, bishop to b6 was played, and after this, the white played a g4, trying to attack the queen. Then the queen goes to e6, and after this, the queen just exchange of the queen, and the pawn takes e6. After this, the bishop goes to e3, trying to exchange off the bishop. And after bishop capture, rook capture at the move 28. Now you have the endgame with the king rook versus queen rook. And after this move, here come a very nice strategy, that is, in the endgame you need to move your chess onwards only, and also with on attack. And the idea from the white is playing the king for moving here, continue to go up, then capture the pawn. And this is a very nice creative path to bring the king to the opposite side and to push all the pawn to become and promote a queen. So let's see at this moment how the white continue to play. After this move, the black continue to go for rook d2 and check the king. And after this, king to g3. Then the rook just capture the pawn. As you see at this position, you have a 5 pawn versus 6 pawn. However, the position still indicate it is equal, because the white has moved the chess pieces onwards faster than the black. So after this move, the white just continue to goes the king to h4, and with the idea to goes the king to g5, then capture all the pawn. And now this 3 connected pawn will be very active and can easily promote a queen. So after this move, a5 was played, and now the pawn just take off the pawn. Then the rook capture it back, and after this, the king goes to g5. Now the king can easily take all the pawn, and the pawn at e5 is protected, and the rook cannot capture. So after this move, b5 was played, and now the king just take the pawn at g6. Then b4 was played, and here f4 from the white. And after this, the rook goes to b5 and prepare to push the pawn forwards and promote a queen, while the white also can push the pawn forwards, while the white also can push the pawn forwards and promote the queen on the h file. So after this move, b3 was played, and now the rook to e1 to defend the pawn to promote at b1. Then after this, c5 was played, and after this, the white play f6, continue to push forward, and now you have only 2 steps to promote as a queen. So the pawn just capture, and now the e pawn capture it again, and hoping to go for f7 and become a queen. After this, king d7 was played, and now the f7 from the white, and here you can see that the white is going to win the game. Another better move for the white to play rather than f7 is to play a rook to e1 and check the king. And after this move, you have nothing much the black can do. For instance, if you go the king to e8, then the rook can continue to go to a1 and go to a8, then check the king, then you push the pawn forward and become a queen. So let's say if the king move to c6, then you can just push the pawn forwards, and after this, the rook to b8 to attack the pawn from promote, then rook to b1. After c4, you can just continue to push the pawn, and both of this h and the g4 pawn can keep on moving and promote a queen. So if the king move back to d7, then the king can go to g7, and now the pawn can promote a queen. So if the king moves nearer, then g6 can be played. After e5, then now you can play another pawn. Then if the rook block at f8, you can just push the pawn to h5. After this, nothing much the black can do, and slowly the pawn can push forward and become a queen. So this is example move, such as you move the rook to c8, pawn push forward, c3, then the rook will just capture, c2, and the rook now can play a nice move by playing a rook sacrifice. And if you capture the rook, then you can promote a queen, and after promote a queen, the king to e6, then queen can continue to check. You have many places to check. Queen to g8 check, after king to f5, and then queen continue to check, then king to g5, and now you can just promote for another queen. And now if a black go for a queen c1 and become a queen, then you can just promote another queen. And now after rook to c6 check, c6 to attack the pawn, and here the queen will just continue to check. After king to g4, then you have the diagonal check of the king, and here nothing much the king can do. If you just block, then the queen will just capture, or if you just move the rook to e6, and after this move you can just capture the free queen. Then after e4, then the queen will just continue to capture, then king to f3, and the queen will continue to play h3 check, king to e2, and you will be a very very nice checkmate at queen h to e3 and it will be checkmate. So the rook d1 will be a very nice attacking and will be a winning for the white. And in the actual game, the white go for f7. After this move, the rook to b8 was played, and now the king come to f6. And from here you can see this is the critical path where the white take to move the chess onwards only with on attack. And this idea is now move the king from the original position to the 6th rank, and now 3 of the pawn is very active, can easily promote become a queen. So after this move, b2 was played, and now the position is equal as both has the equal chance to promote the queen. Then the rook to d1 to check the king, and here they only have a 3 move, and the correct move will be king to c7. So I will show you the move if you play to king to c7, and this will end with the draw, or the position will be slightly to be equal, because after push the pawn forward, the black also will push forward. g6, c3, then g7, and now a c2 attack, and both have an equal chance. So if you promote the queen first, then the pawn you just take d1 and to promote a queen as well. And after this, the queen continue to check, then the king can just move away. And if your queen continue to check, trying to capture the rook, then the king can just move away to c6. And if you capture the rook, then the pawn will promote to another queen. And now if your queen continue to check, the king can just goes to b5. And if the queen continue to check, then king to a4. And if your queen continue to check, queen to b4. Then queen continue to check at b7. Then the king can continue to move to c3. And after queen continue to check, then the king can goes to b2. And now queen to check at e5. Then the king goes to a3. And if you continue to check, then the queen now can move and block the check. And after the capture, king capture, then g8 promote another queen, and now it's a time for the black to keep on the check, such as queen to f5, king to e7. Then the black can go to queen to c5 and continue to check. Then king to this pawn you cannot capture. If you capture the pawn, then the black will be winning by queen to c4 check, and this will be a skewer and will win the queen. So therefore the king can just move to all this green square, and if you move back to f6, then the queen can goes to d4, continue check, queen to g6, then you can just play e5, and at this position is you continue to play, it will be a drawish game, because now if you white continue to check, king to b4, queen to b7 check, king to c4, queen to c6 check, then king to d3, and the king will bring nearer towards the pawn, then queen to f3 check, then king to d2, then king to f5, and king to e1. After this, goes to g3 check, and the king to e2. Then the queen just capture check, the queen capture e5 check. After king capture, then king to f3, and now h4, then king to g4, then h5. The king will just capture the pawn, and this will be end with a draw with insufficient material to win. So back to this move, if you make the king to c8, and here the white will win and mate in 8, and after this move the pawn will promote to become a queen and check, then king to b7, then the queen will just capture the pawn at c5. After this the rook has nothing much to do, and the white will be winning the game. So the rook can just capture. After b1 promote the queen, then the rook to d7 check. After kings to a6, then you have a rook to a7 checkmate. So after this move, in the actual game, the black choose to play king c6, and with this move has changed the white to a winning game. And after this move, here come the pawn to g5, then the pawn to c4, and g6 was played, and now play c3, then g7 and the c2 attack the rook. And now the difference is here, in this position you can make a very tactical sacrifice with a rook d6 check, and this is a very nice game. And with this check, now you can see the black has a limited place, and if you don't capture, the white will be winning in the move. So in the actual game, the king takes the rook, and after this the promote the pawn f8 to become a queen, and after this move the king move to c6, then the queen just capture the rook, and at this position you can see the white have one queen first. So b1 to promote a queen, then you promote another queen for the white. So now you have a 2 queen, and after this move, queen to a1 and check, and now this allows the king to hide itself in f7, and after this move nothing much the white can do to prevent the check. So after this move, c1 continue to promote a queen, and now you have a mate in 4. I'll give a couple of seconds to figure out how the continuation to play in this situation. Well, congratulations for those who found the answer, and for those who like to enjoy the show, here are the moves made by the white. Queen g to c8 check, then the king to d5. After this, queen takes the pawn check, then king to d4, then queen to b4 check, and here king to d3, and after this you have queen to e to e1, and here you have a very nice checkmate. And with this, thank you.